welcome once again to all of you who are available now on this channel. I welcome Krishnan, Vikram, as well as Deepak to this session. I am trying to see if I can find Deepak inside the room. He was here for a minute or so, and then I think he's trying to reconnect. Anyway, welcome to this digital world. Welcome to this connect. For many of us, this is a new reality. For many of us, this is also re-looked at our understanding of retail. It's also re-looked at our understanding of how consumers will shop, and we all need to really understand how things will pan out going forward. I'm very, very happy for getting this panel because we've got three of the biggies in India available to us in this panel. I do know that each one of them are going through their own new avatars, so to say. It's baptism by fire for all of us. And I also understand that each one of the companies in India and across the world, when it comes to retail, have redesigned their businesses. To know more about this and to know more how we can really work in this sometimes contactless world, I would like Krishnan and Vikram, and we'll wait for Deepak to come in. But definitely, I'd like maybe we can start off with Vikram for him to give us a few lines on what does he think is happening in the retail world, and then it will go on to Krishnan briefly for about 2 minutes so that we know what they are thinking. Vikram, you are on mute.
Yeah. Hi everyone, this is Vikram from Reliance Retail. So Kumar, just to talk about contactless retail is really what contactless experience is really what we're looking at in this session. Of course, the trigger has been the pandemic, etc., etc. So I think this has given everyone a chance to push the boundaries on the digital space. One is push the boundaries on digital and increase the contactless kind of experience with the customer. On the other hand, it's also pushed several other retailers who may have been sitting on the edge, who may have been more aligned to the physical retail, has kind of got them off and going and try to think through ways of how to interact with customers digitally. So I think that's been the broad summary of the last few months. But at a more granular level, what retailers are doing is one, on the customer front end point of view, increase the level of digital interaction with customers. So making online a lot more easier for customers to do. And we'll probably get more into the panel and discuss details behind that. But basically enable the online channel, and naturally that brings in the concept of omni-channel and how they've actually delivered products to customers. So I think that's been broadly at a retail level. Of course, there's been other aspects at an employee, at a vendor level where the whole contactless piece has come in. Maybe we'll just focus this one on customer experience, right? So I think that broadly that's my summary of what's happened in the last few months.
Thanks, Vikram. Could I get Krishnan to tell what's happening from his point
of view? Of course, on the same lines as Vikram just enunciated, right? I'd just like to point out one variation. Titan, as you know, we are a lifestyle products company, and many of our higher-end products are really the subject of physical experience, right? A very, very good piece of jewelry, a watch, you actually want to touch and feel it. So what we are also doing, many of our stores are open now, right? We are following safety protocols, but obviously customers are cautious about coming and spending the kind of time they used to spend in our stores. And that's a fact. And that's going to remain for some time. So how we are also leveraging digital is to have conversations that may precede and set the ground for a much more efficient visit. So for example, a customer could digitally over a video call using augmented reality, which we have, be able to shortlist a set of products and state the wish list and set up an appointment. So a visit which might have been, let's say, for 90 minutes becomes a very efficient 15-20 minutes. And in fact, we have had many customers in the last few weeks and months who have visited our store and bought exactly in this manner. They more or less decided what they wanted to buy. They just wanted that feel of the product in the store, which we gave them perfectly safe, bought, payment is of course contactless, and departed happy with the merchandise, right? So that combination, that variation of Omni, right? Omni is not just about Ropis, Bopis, and so many other things which we know as retailers. It's also about enabling in a physical product category that combination which may work for many customers. Many more use cases, but like Vikram said, we will discuss them in the minutes to come.
Yeah, quite interesting. The browsing part of retail and the initial part of discovery seems to have become quite a bit digital from what you're saying, Krishnan, and it's quite interesting. We will go deeper into that. Deepak, welcome into the panel. We are just trying to understand how are things looking for you. We're trying to see how does this whole contactless world, is it a contactless world? And if yes, what are you thinking as a prelude to this whole discussion that we'll have further? So about 2 minutes of what you think.
Yeah, thanks, Rajgopal. Thank you. And, thanks to all my panel members as well and all the viewers. For us, the pandemic actually has made us think differently. We have been looking at the opportunities that the pandemic has brought in rather than look at the downside of it. Of course, there are things that we need to do from a store perspective, walk-ins, the way we used to work. But is it the way that we are going to, do business going forward? That's the question we are asking. So obviously, this has brought in a change, and we have already started making a lot of changes, from Levi's perspective. And we have seen quite a few opportunities, and we have actually capitalized on that. Our B2B is now moving to digital. We are making our ecosystem aware of, working on a digital, platform with us. That is something. And then, we are now focusing more on, we have introduced a lot of contactless, solutions, in the stores, contactless payment, digital receipts. And we are focusing more on, just not the consumers, but the backend as well. We even virtualized our line presentation for the first time, and we saw that it was a big success. We didn't see much of a difference between physical and virtual. The result was more or less the same, but we could save, few crores easily. So there are, advantages that we want to take, we want to leverage on. I think there's a lot of opportunity, and be it in office, be it in the supply chain, be it in the stores, or be it on the back end, solutions that we are working on. There are quite a few opportunities that we can move into digital and make our ecosystem, our partners, and our customers all get used to this, digital world. This is what we are planning to do.
Very interesting. I think within these few minutes, each one of you were able to give new opening or new thoughts into how retailers are really reinventing. I've already heard a few terminologies here, which is looking interesting. How audiovisual, how the entire ecosystem is getting changed, how your whole B2B ecosystem is getting changed, how you are able to make sure that contactless payments are happening. But to go deeper into this, I'll go back to Vikram. Vikram, you did talk about how retailers need to rethink and what is the broad methods of rethinking. So if you have to relook at this whole contactless, do you believe that it is a contactless kind of a process, or are you saying that there are new aspects that we need to do? Some things would still be contact. How do you really look at this contactless world? What can become contactless? What can't be contactless?
Good, excellent, fantastic question, and that's something I've been thinking very kind of passionately about. While in the last few months there has been this whole buzzword, I would say, of contactless, and everyone seems to be chasing contactless. Okay, see, in my view, why does a customer come to shop? Okay, why would I visit a mall, for example, or why would I visit a store? Is because I like the ambience, I like the experience factor. Okay. So not everything can go contactless, as you rightly said. I think there is one aspect of experience, physical experience, which we've still got to ensure is being met for the customer. Otherwise, they will lose interest in those types of products. So I think broadly, we got to look at it that way, that there are certain categories of products which can be made contactless. And I think the one that has taken off very, very quickly has been the food category, obviously. I won't talk too much about food on the customer front end point of view, but their delivery has been a very important aspect. So when we talk contactless, and the moment you go contactless, what becomes very important is being able to deliver to the promise. Deliver in the sense you promise, a certain number, a certain amount of time, 1 day, 2 day delivery. You got to make sure that that delivery is actually going to happen, because you are now dealing with a customer who is very promiscuous, who can actually just click on another website and get onto a different platform and make the purchase. Whereas if they are in the store, they've got physical product in their hand, right? So it's very easy to lose a customer when you go contactless if you don't deliver properly, if you don't do your fulfillment well. So I think delivery is a very, very important aspect, and that's an area that can be contactless, made contactless, and we have done that for that matter, okay, as a business. So I think for food, that's what I would say is delivery. If you look at fashion, for example, that's a more high touch category. Fashion is more difficult to go contactless. Of course, the core products very easy to sell to customers and they buy it off. But fashion has now, when I said earlier, in fact, that boundaries are getting pushed, right? What's happened is, Krishnan talked about augmented reality on jewelry, but I'm just saying that augmented reality as a technology is, kind of bringing in huge adoption. So that is being pushed extensively. Now, before jumping into like virtual reality and all of that stuff, I think AR has played the biggest role out here. So fashion products, to see how they fit on you, that has really picked up steam. And there are lots of, obviously I talk to a lot of startups. Quite a few of them are talking about fit, which is a very important aspect in fashion, right? So fit is and fashion, as I said, has become one area which is also now looking to go contactless if the technology supports it. So I think that's the key point. Then there is various other aspects like food. For example, food meaning like, let's say I want to get an ice cream. I want to order like from a Swiggy, Zomato type of a place. That's gone completely contactless. So I think there are areas where touch points are not very, where the whole fashion quotient or the touch point emotional quotient is not very, very high. So those have actually moved contactless. And one very final point I'd want to make on this one is Krishnan deals with jewelry, and we also deal with jewelry for that matter. That's a real outlier of something that has used augmented reality for people to actually increase conversion, because of that. So I think jewelry is one area clearly where it's an outlier, but people are willing to experiment with that. And so that's why I'm saying AR is really pushed even consumers to actually think that, hey, I can do even this kind of a purchase online. So yeah, that's what it is.
Very interesting. In fact, we've been doing this whole business survey with many of our members all through this COVID season. For many, for example, fashion has really not recovered as much as it should. And I'm seeing some players doing much better than others, but overall fashion seems to be hovering around the 40% of last year kind of levels. Some have done better, and I'm sure some of you are the leaders in that. The other thing that you also talked about is jewelry. Jewelry is kind of looking like it's there, but it's still not completely there, about 60% of last year. What is wonderful is the one category that I'd like some more depth from you, the CDIT products. Most of the CDIT players are actually showing growth over last year in the last 2 months' time. And I'm sure there are new lessons being learned there. It was always one of those categories where customers were willing to buy online. So are you seeing some difference in the way they are behaving there also, Vikram?
So CDIT, part of it is more impulsive purchases. A lot of them are impulsive, like, pen drives, power banks, those kinds of things are very impulsive. And so I think in this time, in the last, as we've gone contactless, those areas, the kind of grab and go equivalent, okay, areas have really picked up steam, okay. If I look at the larger kind of devices, which could be things like washing machines and refrigerators, I don't see that the growth has been so immense. But those are categories which are again can be contactless and can be purchased online. Okay, because they are more about specs and less about the fashion quotient that you need to see. So yeah, I think CDIT is clearly a category which obviously we believe that can be very contactless, extensive, except of course the maintenance, installation, those kinds of things, which again we've got to take care of that side of it when we service those products. But yes, it's clearly a category that is going contactless. We have seen growth on that.
Nice. The other thing that we also hear is that the customer entry in many of the stores have dropped, but the ticket sizes have gone up quite a bit. I would ask Krishnan to come in on this and tell me what are the new trends that you are seeing with the way customers are buying. You've already spoken about this whole augmented reality aspect of consumers, and I take it that all these are pre-shopping, or what I would call as the discovery phase of shopping is becoming much more tech-enabled or digitally enabled. What are the other trends that you are seeing? Is it true that the size of cash memos have become much larger when customers do come into the store?
See, I'm not the competent person to disaggregate the movement in the price of gold,
okay,
and talk about what is a true ticket size increase, right? So it's a complex discussion, right? As you know, the price of our main input has gone up.
Yes,
and gone down.
That is also gone up. Yes,
there's a movement there, right?
Yeah.
But that's probably a conversation elsewhere, and I'll probably not be competent, right? But see, what's happening is there is always a class of customers who do want to buy, right? Whether it's for investment or whether it's for occasions or whatever. And we do have our share of high net worth customers. So with the right facilitation, we have seen purely online purchases of surprising amounts, right? The value has been high and customers have been okay to pay online and enable us to deliver home. Now, why is that? There is also the brand equity of Titan, Tanishq, and obviously the Tata Group backing us. Customers who come in digitally to connect with us know that what our colleague is talking about is exactly what they're going to get. So there is no dissonance when dealing with us. Secondly, being the kind of network we have been for so many years, the personal connect between many of our sales officers, our retail colleagues, and individual customers is very high. It's personal, right? There are customers who have been happy to visit our stores on their birthday and pose for a photograph with the retail sales colleague and accept a cake from us, obviously pre-COVID times, right? But the fact is the relationship is there, right? And so therefore, when our colleague calls a customer and says, there is new exciting merchandise, would you like to have a look at it? Can we do a video call? The acceptance is there, the desire to purchase is there, and so therefore customers have been buying. So multiple reasons, but the fact is there is the network, the strength of the relationship, and obviously even in these times, either as investment or for an occasion or for any other reason, there are customers who are buying. Overall business targets and so on and so forth, in a few weeks from now, our results will be announced. So I think I will leave it for that. Silent period is started. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think it's a very nice input into what is happening there. I love the two parts that you also added in. One is that if there are trusted brands and customers can easily relate to that brand, there seems to be a much better ease to move away from not necessarily only physical to digital, because they know they are going to get what they ask for.
It's an old IT industry acronym, VCRIG. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Perfectly. Right?
Yes.
What you're seeing on the screen, is it what you get delivered home?
Is what you get. Right? Yes, I agree with you.
So, I mean, you take fashion, for example, a brand that is considered consistent and reliable in its cut will automatically be more trusted. You know that the trouser you bought last year, if that one is fitting you, then another one of the same specs will fit you. So,
and to stick to our panelists, you can always say that if the Levi's fitted you, then it will fit you again.
I mean, I'm just guessing here. You may just find that repeat purchases of such brands have gone up, possibly. I don't know.
So you can make a statement on that front, actually.
Yeah.
So if you look at fashion and you like, I'll maybe tread into territory of Deepak a little bit. If you look at trousers, okay, with high fashion in the last, 2-3 years, you've had your regular fits and you've had your straight fits and all of that stuff. So now obviously you've gone into skinny fit, and then there is super skinny. Okay. So Krishnan, I wouldn't entirely agree that the same trouser you bought last time is the same because the fits are just changing every year and there's new stuff that's coming. So I have to go and try it out.
No, fair. In fact, you're proving my point, which is that if somebody maintained the language of 2 years back,
yes,
then I'm more comfortable with buying it.
Yeah, sure.
If I see six fits that I didn't see before, then I'll kind of be a bit wary. Fair enough. Point taken.
Sure. Provided the messaging is the same. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Deepak, you may need to unmute yourself because the thing is landed right into your territory. I love the fact.
I was just, it was interesting to see the, discussion. So yes, of course, what Krishnan said, some of it holds true because in Levi's, people come for the fit. It's a 511, 501, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the material that keeps changing, from time to time. So it's a high touch, product. And we still see people, walking into our stores and doing a trial. So that means, people come specifically, our conversion rates are very high because people who walk into store come with a mindset, that they want to buy a Levi's jean. Okay, so that's how it is, and if you and we have already started seeing, high purchase, on the e-commerce or e-commerce side, on the marketplaces, it's really shooting up and it's doubling, tripling. We can see that people are, buying online more because they are not able to come to the stores, but they know their fits. They know exactly what fit they need to buy. They know how it fits them. So it's only that look, feel, touch, the shade, the wash. These are the things people come to see it physically. But I think they are kind of, okay to see it online and try it because they can always return it. But the sales are definitely increasing online, and we think pandemic is here for whatever period, but things are going to rebound. It's a matter of time. Once that happens, I think we'll be back on track. Already we are seeing many countries rebound for Levi's, and it is coming back to last year levels. So we are hoping things get better in India. It will happen the same for us as well.
So it's quite a revelation that you also talked about how your experience vis-a-vis B2B has changed. Maybe you can get slightly deeper into that part as to how you were doing it before, how you're doing it now, and where do you think things will go going forward? I mean, what parts of this have become contactless? Because I know there's a full range presentation that used to happen in the fashion business. There would be a whole lot of payment mechanisms that used to happen in the fashion business that were not necessarily only digital. Also, people would ask for various kinds of props and various things to support them to sell differently. So what aspects have changed and where do you think things will go going forward?
See, from a store perspective, we will continue, it looks like, we will continue to keep bringing next gen elements into the store. But from a B2B perspective, which is very crucial for Levi's, where we have a lot of partners, franchisees, a lot of partners. So their B2B plays a lot of role because for us, a line presentation is a very, very critical, part of our the process. And it's a very big show for us. It's really a very big show. We spend a lot of money. We bring in all our partners. We make them feel comfortable. We display. We have our own fashion shows. It's a big event for us. And all the bookings happen, then and there itself. A lot of bookings happen there, most of it, and then after people go back, we still have bookings. So that's a pure touch feel. It's a personal contact with everybody. It's a very good place for us. But when we saw that, that won't happen in this pandemic times, it was a challenge for us. So we started thinking, how do we do this? So our line presentation for one of the region was, had come up, and it was a challenge. We wanted to know, is there something, that we can do which can match this experience? So we did, we have our own in-house B2B tool as well, and but we tried something new. We went out to a third-party solution. We evaluated. We found something very nice, and I think the way we implemented it, we started seeing a lot of benefits, because before we could not track what people are buying, how they are thinking, what they are putting in their cart. So they didn't have this cart. They used to talk and they used to place orders and all that, and we used to record it. And now we can see them online putting it in cart, and we can see have they put any of the top 10 items in their cart or not. And then we could coach them and say, in your region, all the top other master franchises have put this in their cart. This is the top sellers. You have not taken any of this, or you just taken 2 of this. Would you like to? So we could start guiding them, and it started working out very well for us. And people also liked it because it was very easy, that way. They also had a tool where they could see your entire line, and it's not that they see go back to that catalog. Yeah. Either digital or physical. So everything is online, everything is integrated in one place, from cataloging to the complete storyline to description to checkout, and place the order. Everything is completely integrated. I think that was a fantastic move that we made, and I think that is now getting adopted across. So what we realized is, we used to make just 2 such line presentations in a year, and now we see that we can make unlimited. Why just limit to 2? We have a capsule like Royal Enfield, Royal Enfield capsule, Levi's Royal Enfield. There will be a lot of such capsules coming up. So for each of the capsule, we can create a line presentation, virtual line presentation of these. We don't have to restrict to 2 times a year, right? And we don't have to spend that kind of money. The kind of money we paid for this platform is nothing really. But it's a fantastic place that we are on. So these are some of the things. This is one of the area. We're also moving to a virtual store, and there's already a pilot has already happened in the US. Our entire Levi's store, people can see from their website. They can see it in 3D. They can see what merchandise is available. They can click. So the moment they click from there, it's a blend of 3D and 2D, and then it has an integrated checkout. So I think as we go forward, there will be both virtual and a combination of virtual and physical, because at the end of the day, physical has its own advantages. We also have a touch point with all our partners, right? We meet them physically, we meet, greet, we explain to them better. It's a different thing. The relationship is very important. So I think we'll have a combination of virtual as well as physical as we go forward, as things ease down on the pandemic. Plus, I think we may also get our Levi's websites, e-commerce may transform into something between 3D and 2D, and kind of give an experience better than 2D, and something which does not require you to wear a virtual glass, something like that. So we are looking at I think everything is going to move towards that. It's an opportunity in these times, actually.
Very, very nice. I think this could be the way in which businesses are moving. I can tell you from RA's experience also, it's similar, because we are having this conference now online. Fact is that conferences allows people to come together, have a coffee together, have a drink together, get to know each other better. You create new relationships. That part is not perfect, right? At the same time, 2 things are happening. A, our attendance is really gone up. And I'm sure even in your line presentations, you had most people available, almost 100% full attendance, which would otherwise not happen, right?
And these are spread across countries.
Across countries. Absolutely. So the attendance seems to have been much better because of this. Their own attention span seems to be better, and their decision-making ability seems to be really fast because, like you said, they are putting things in cart. The other thing is, how do you really look at response mechanism from them? For example, how do you get feedback? Is that got better also? And this could be an open session for all the 3 of you. Are you seeing in the digital world a feedback mechanism from consumers or B2B agents of yours getting better?
Let me go first, and probably I'll.
Yeah.
Now, for example, we have millions of visitors on our websites, right? And I think as with all retailers, the online visit has increased, right? We also have live chat capability going on.
Yeah.
Right. So customers who are on the website, we can invite them to a live chat.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, the ability to strike a conversation with far many more customers simultaneously, and then promote that conversation into, let's say, a conversation with a store colleague, which could be a product presentation, sending of a catalog, or maybe a video demonstration of certain products. So the ability for us to progress a conversation from what might have been, let's say, a browsing opportunity of a few minutes into the progression through the standard industry funnel, which I won't describe, I'm sure everyone knows it here, right? The opportunities are enhanced, right? And now that all of us are getting digitized as consumers and as professionals, right? The propensity to engage in a good conversation is also going up, right? It's nothing strange for a window to pop up now on the screen and say, would you like to chat? It might have been strange some time back, but today people say yes. And depending on the quality of the chat and the customer's initial intent, that conversation can very soon progress. So getting feedback is actually much easier, right?
Right.
We have an NPS program that's been running for years, right? And the response rate has steadily improved. And this is not pandemic related. It's just that customers are much more inclined and comfortable with giving feedback. Obviously, the relationship is important, but it's just that things have become genuinely easy, and we have also got used to tapping, right? I mean, let's not underestimate that factor. So yes,
it's different. Vikram, would you like to add something?
No, I completely agree with Krishnan on this one, that with digital, your ability to get feedback has only been enhanced, because if you really think about someone walking into a store, you'd rarely manage to get any concrete feedback out of a customer. Okay, they generally not want to be around, or you never know how they respond to that form if you gave them anything. So I think not much to add to that. I think it's definitely got enhanced, and if you have the right tools to understand the feedback, I think that's maybe if I have to just add one more point, that structured feedback is able to, you can obviously understand that and have the right analytics tools, but even unstructured feedback, like the example that Deepak talked about, a line presentation, one of our big brands, luxury brands, had done something similar, and I was a part of that initial presentation that they had done, and as Deepak rightly said, people all over the world were there, talking freely, sharing points of view. In fact, the advantage with having a line presentation is you are able to focus them on a single product and actually pinpoint, the type of fabric that's been made, what's the type of pocket, what's the type of buttons. So you're actually able to give so many people very, very deep knowledge and information, which in the physical space was more subjective. People could just walk away and, it wasn't that focused. So I think, structured feedback, definitely you need the right tools to analyze, but unstructured feedback through these line presentations and other forms are clearly, you need the tools to be able to analyze and be able to do that. So net.
In fact, if I may add to what Vikram was saying, we recently ran a new product introduction session for our franchisees, right? Mm-hmm. Naturally digital. And the feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and probably for exactly the same reasons that Vikram just mentioned and Deepak has cited. You can get attention to where you want the attention
exactly
to be.
What you want, yeah.
Exactly. Right. It's kind of well-designed, directed self-service.
Correct.
Right.
I do have to say, as a customer, I find it much more easy, because when I bought things from your apps, and most of you got some apps or some websites, it's so easy to write back or to talk back, and then you get what you want resolved.
It just needs design, and design patterns are now, so many of them are available. Yeah. Good design patterns. You don't necessarily need to invent.
Very, very interesting. Now, the one thing that I'd like to go back to Deepak on, and then I'll shift the gear to slightly different topic, is about new introductions. I mean, we do know that items that have already been there in the market, like in your case, the fits. If I'm a 501 customer, I'll keep buying 501. But there is a possibility that you may want to showcase new lines to me. Is that becoming a slightly curbed kind of a concept, or you're seeing methods by which you are able to showcase that also better thanks to the digital world?
Yeah, so you mean to our partners or in the stores?
Both, to partners and in stores, the new innovations.
So partners is very easy in today's world, but stores is still a challenge because people still have to come. So if the same, so today what we're doing is we're exposing them on our e-commerce platforms.
Okay.
So people are getting to know what is new. So because people are not able to go to stores and all that, that's the challenge at the store level. But I think from a partner perspective, that's not a challenge at all. Like Krishnan also mentioned, Vikram mentioned that we are able to focus and go by style by style to to our partners and explain to them the whole story. But and that's not a challenge, and that's also that's very smooth. But from a store perspective, yes, of course, those are the things that used to drive our customers. Most of Levi's, we have a huge loyalty base. These are generally our repeat customers. They keep coming back for more, so they want something new in the same fit. So this is what and still some people are coming back. We know that they're waiting to come back because of the current issue. They're holding back. But if we are able to expose them on e-commerce, they're grabbing it. For example, our Royal Enfield capsule got sold out. The first few days, I think everything was out. So things like that are happening. There are people who are waiting for the new merchandise coming, but the fit remains same, but the style is different. The concepts are different. A lot of new things coming. Like I said, we have to evolve. It's not that we wait for things to go back to previous days. It will never go back. My understanding is that those days are over. It's a harbinger of new ways of working. So it will be a combination of both. And people are now getting used to shopping digitally. We are seeing the sales soar on our digital platforms. So I think we have also decided to strengthen all those areas now. We typically we are looking at a lot of ways how we can connect to consumers digitally, and we are waiting to see whenever we have a rebound, then we will look at the storefront as well.
One of the questions, sorry, yeah, tell me, Vikram, sorry.
If I may just add on this new line front, right? See, the way I'm just going to share my point of view that if you go to any platform today, okay, any and I'm taking apparel as an example, okay, new lines, because those repeat quite frequently. But if you take apparel, I think if you look at any platform, you've got new kind of mentioned somewhere on the platform, everywhere, okay. So what's really happening is new is not standing out, if I have to say, okay. I may go to a Flipkart, or I may go to an Amazon, or I may go to an Ajio. New, according to me, yes, there will be that menu option of new. There will be a few blinking things here and there. But to me, new is not about technology. It's more about, I think, the strategy on how you communicate new. Okay. So I think it comes back to these line presentations that we just talked about. It's more about strategy and how you position new. Just putting it on a website, everybody does it. Okay. And no one's going to really see, and I don't know how many people trust that this new is genuinely new. I'm talking as a consumer myself, okay? That if I go there and I see a new menu option, I'm not sure everything is really a fresh new line that's come in a few days back. So I think it's more about strategy and getting the consumer to see it, and then being able to go into the depth of the product and explain it out. So
yeah, if you see how we bring out newness is through these capsules, the Royal Enfield capsule, or a Super Mario capsule, or something else. So we keep doing this. This is how we communicate. Our the whole communication goes out, and then people know what is new.
Yeah.
And they look for it. They even on the website, we can see the search pattern. They are looking for those new capsules actually.
So what is this Royal Enfield capsule? Maybe you need to tell me more about it.
You can tell us about it.
No, this is a collaboration with Royal Enfield, and we have designed new merchandise, that suits the rider community, especially the Royal Enfield community. So if you see our jacket, you'll see a lot of performance elements in those jackets. Yeah. You'll see both the Royal Enfield and Levi branding on those jackets together. So they are designed, for the rider communities. And if you see, there will be pockets where you can put your, those protective gears. Whatever the rider uses, the kind of fit they look for, the kind of comfort they look for. So all this has been taken care of. I think it has been a very, very big success for us. So this is an example of how we bring out newness, from Levi's. The concept comes out and the whole market knows, what is coming out from Levi's. So, people know what is core, they keep going back to core, but people who are looking for new, who know that this is my fit, generally people, try and purchase, full price, in Levi's, people don't the population who come for full price is more than the population who come for discounts. So I think it's a premium brand, and I think this is how we bring out our newness to the market.
Very nice. Actually, one of the topics that I've heard again and again and again all through COVID is this thought process called collaborations. And this is where I think, for example, many of the restaurants started selling even groceries through their doors because they knew that they had customers with them, but they could not really serve them inside. And they said, fine, let me just do a whole lot of extension. And they tied up with people who can sell produce which you can cook from home, so groceries and various items. I've seen collaborations happening with banks at various levels. I'm seeing new credit card companies doing some new kinds of collaborations with various retailers all across the country. And this is an interesting aspect of what is happening thanks to this pandemic. I think people are going beyond their normal sense of business because nothing is taken for granted. You don't know what will happen today, what will happen tomorrow. I want to get into that part. Are you seeing a new need of agility in the market? Are you able to predict what would happen based upon historical data? Or are you all saying predictability purely on historical data is not anymore relevant? Any of you can answer this.
When you say agility, in what sense?
For example, some of my retailers are saying, listen, I've been doing retail for so long, but the fact is I'm selling items now in quantities and of a nature which I would have never sold before. And items that I always took for granted that I would sell is not necessarily the way in which things are selling now thanks to the pandemic. Are you seeing any such trends anywhere?
If I have to share a view on this, I think from our point of view, we are trying to get as hyper local as possible. Okay, so the agility in the sense, where's the closest place I can source this product from for the customer and deliver it as fast as possible, number one. Number two, let's take the fashion industry again, apparel as an example, where depth of product is fairly low in a store, and it might be available in a range of stores. Hence, the tech behind making sure that I'm able to get the product from my closest store, and of course keeping track of inventory and stockouts. That's the important aspect. So that's helping us get closer to the customer very, very clearly. We can see that customers are picking that up really easily. So I think agility on that point of view, definitely. If I go back on the whole fashion, it was 2 seasons a year. Seasons are collapsing hugely, okay? And that concept of 2 seasons broadly overarching, yes, spring, summer, autumn, winter still there, but the orders and the buys are shifting to very, very high speed buys, so that I can buy in small quantities and I buy a lot more frequently. So that gives you then agility to change to the customer's demand. You can change your orders a little bit. So I think that's the agility that we are bringing in for sure.
Very interesting. I've got to plug in one thing here for the audience who are available. If you've got some questions, do take time now to send those, because we do not have too much of time, and I'd like to take up that audience questions if at all. The other two parts one was on the payment part, and I think there is enough being said on payments from the government, this whole thought around digital payments, etc. But thanks to this contactless, are you seeing big changes in the way payments are? And any one of you can answer, or all of you can answer this.
So we are not seeing, sorry, you want to go? So we are not seeing so much of a difference.
Okay.
But there are, customers who prefer to now pay from their mobiles. We have enabled that facility. So, because the credit cards already have this, Wi-Fi, NFCs and all that stuff. But for people who would like the Bitly link on their mobiles to, make payments, we have enabled that as well. So that is just to ensure that, people feel comfortable even during the payment phase. So that's what we are doing.
I think contactless payments was on even before the pandemic, right?
Yeah. Right.
And most folks had that option.
Correct.
And it's easy enough to install. So
correct.
Adoption has been, doorstep purchases and then instead of giving the guy cash, those few extra seconds are spent through whatever, scan the QR code, pay, and then show the guy the screen saying, "Here they go," right?
Yeah.
That's happening.
But are you seeing that being adopted faster? Because I know that the enablement was there, but the adoption was not good enough.
Absolutely. So frankly, the technology was always easy from the time it was launched. It's just that people have started using it and found it easy too. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
It's frankly been the easiest aspect of safety that I think industries at large have been able to implement. Genuine no contact payment, no need to share your card, no need to share anything.
So I come to my next part. And this is something that was part of my predetermined questions, right? And I did not ask this. And now I come to Vikram there specifically. Achieving contactless without losing human touch. Is that a concept at all? Does it make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense. Without losing human touch doesn't make sense to me. Okay, that's the broad statement. But I think overall, it depends on the category. Okay, that's very important. And simple example is food has gone contactless, across the board. There's no need for a touch on food. Okay, so that's an area. But I think the more high touch, like as we've talked about, fashion, CDIT is another mix of touch versus. So wherever there's an element of change in style, change in trends, there the human touch tends to be required. And this whole contactless with human touch, I think the closest we have come to it, or one way to kind of implement that is to have live chat options wherever the person is sitting at home. Live chat is not with a robot behind the scenes, but with an actual person who's sitting out there and who's talking to you. So that, to me, that human touch cannot go away and should not go away, because you want to talk to a person at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Okay, so I come to the last part, and I think this is for the benefit of everybody who's viewing this. What next? If each one of you can tell me 2 or 3 things that's going to that's on your anvil to take you to the next levels. And I mean, the 3 biggest leaders are here, and therefore it's only apt for us to know what can we expect next.
I think a question popped up. Should we, if there are questions waiting for us to seek to respond to, should we pick them first, you think? I thought a question just popped up and vanished.
So we'll go there. No, I know there is one question that's there. What's your thought on in-store experience solution adoption in retail? We'll come to that part.
Okay.
But I'm very keen to know what next from each one of you, because I'm sure there would be some new insights into what should one look out for.
Okay. In our industry, and specifically in the context of technology in retail, very clearly digital adoption is a no-brainer now, right? Okay. The digital quotient in customer experience is only going up. And with bandwidth also improving, frankly, home Wi-Fi has been a revelation for me. I had my concerns, but the ease with which we have been able to switch to work from home for those critical months and continue, it's certainly, I would say, a testament to the quality of home networking that most of my colleagues have never had a problem. Very few have had. That's a fact.
That is really amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think we must remark positively on that. It's made our life at least.
Part of that play has been done by Vikram's company.
There you are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So having said that, so as bandwidth improves and obviously the quality of end consumer devices goes up, the digital quotient is only going up, right? And all retailers are now learning how to present their products in a way that customers find pleasing, right? And obviously the trusted brands will win to some greater extent. But having said that, the adoption and the experience are going up remarkably fast. And so therefore, digital is there to stay. Would really be my outlook even post-pandemic. And I really hope we can start using the term post-pandemic very soon.
Good.
Right.
Vikram?
Yeah, so I think we talked about the consumer side of it. I won't touch upon that. There will be, of course, a lot on the augmented reality and moving into VR also. But if I have to talk on the supply chain front, I think what next is very critical for that we are moving towards is where to source the product the fastest from. And I think that we are obviously in the midst of it, but that's an area clearly that has to improve significantly. So to me, supply chain, that's clearly an area. And of course, data and analytics is there, always, that how well are you able to read your data and predict your customer. So the predictability then feeding back into my customer touch points again. So I think that's what next really for us.
Very interesting. Deepak?
Yeah, so I think this pandemic has actually made people think, introspect, retrospect and all that. The way we used to do every year on year, season on season, I think that's definitely going to change. And everybody is now, in the past, a digital transformation meant, what are the projects you're going to do for the next 3 to 5 years. But today, digital transformation has a new meaning. What is it that we are going to transform from the way we, how are we going to conduct our business going forward? Is it the same way? Are we going to do this, 10 months, 8 months of, GTM, go to market? What is it that we are going to do? How are we going to plan? Will our planners, take last year data, do, do all the crunching, or will, machine learning will support them to do all that, and they will only start thinking, on top of that, how you're going to work. So will they get a dashboard? So when you talk about, going forward, definitely those companies were already thinking of transforming themselves into a digital world. Whether you like it, don't like it, machine learning is here to stay, and it is just going to go beyond that. So, it's how quickly you adapt to all that, how quickly you make it, practical to all levels of employees and different, functions of employees. Now, are you going to be able to give them the data based on which they can make decisions? Or are they going to continue to download the data, crunch it, put it on Excel, and then deduce from that? So these are all the old ways of working. So we are moving into newer ways of working. I'm sure, most companies, are looking at digital transformation, but in a true sense. They're not looking at, we're not looking at what can be digitized, which process can be digitized. No, that's not the intent. What is it that, how you want to be conducting business? What is the output that you need? And how do you support that, from a technology perspective? Because there's nothing other than, technology, that is what you need to, focus on to bring. Within technology, you have various subsets, which area, which technology you want to use, whether you want to use, definitely, we are on the path of machine learning. There's no doubt on that. And the whole organization, is looking at a digital transformation that you slowly, the things will come out like the way, Nike has made their digital transformation office and all that. So I think almost all companies, top companies in the world are looking at that. So this is what I think will change everything. The optimization in the way we work. The people have clearly seen the difference, in the pandemic, that, people can work very efficiently from home, especially the IT world can work very, very efficiently. We have been able to deliver so many projects during these, 5-6 months of lockdown. Typically, it would have taken us 2 years to do, if you had gone to an office and, tried to do the same kind of projects. So there have been a lot of revelations, and that is actually giving insights to our management. And I'm sure every company would have seen that. And everybody's thinking, how should we work going forward? Should our GTM be, the way we do, or should we work in a different way? Do we do a single line presentation or 2-line presentation 2 season, or we do multiple? A lot of things are going to change. Do we give them an enhanced? Pardon?
Sorry, I need to stop you here.
Okay.
I think but this is interesting, because you are talking about transforming employees just as much as you are transforming various other parts of business. Vikram did talk about transforming the entire supply chain to try and make it in touch with times, to make it more agile, and to try and make sure that you've got the right product at the right time from the nearest source or from the best source. Krishnan did talk about various things that's happening across the entire chain, as well as consumer touch points. There are 2 questions that have come up.
I just wanted to make one point.
Krishnan. Yeah, Krishnan.
I just like to make one point, drawing from what Deepak said. Given that machine learning, for example, we have been on the journey for several years. In fact, last year, our ML-led attributable revenue was several hundred crores through campaigns, right?
Wow.
But drawing from this point, because customers are adopting digital, the digital trail that we can access. And so therefore the richness of possibilities that are now coming out because of the ability to analyze a digital trail of engagement versus a store engagement, which typically leads to almost no trail or a very uncertain trail. Right? You have to rely on your colleague to record what happened. Here, the browsing pattern, the amount of time spent, all that info is available to anyone who's running a website, right? Correct. And so therefore our ability to analyze what's happening is obviously much more sophisticated. So that can lead to much higher personalization and hopefully even better outcomes.
There are a couple of questions that's come from the audience. But
Sure.
Before we go there, I'd like to summarize what's happened so far, because I think otherwise we'll run out of time. So some of the concepts that did come in from all of you, and I hope that people can get some time to take notes of it, is I think that's also part of my job to make sure that I can repeat some of those things. I learned a lot on the whole trust need, the need for trust, and therefore if you're a trusted brand, customers will come back and you've got to capitalize on that. There's a whole lot of things that came up on augmented reality. The B2B part of the old transactions seem to have got really digital. There is also this very clear understanding that the discovery phase of shopping seems to have become quite digital in its nature. The need for personal relationships seem to have become interesting along with just trust, because there's people who can reach out to their customers seem to have done a much better job, also came up quite easily. People are spending lesser time physically in a store. That means that you've got to take care of them in a digital world much easier, and to encompass the entire buying cycle is come up quite clearly. This ability to do live chat simultaneously with multiple customers also gives you this plethora of information for everyone, and that's really nice. Unstructured feedback again can be really analyzed is one of the things that did come up from all of you. Collaborations become very important in this pandemic, and that's creating new lines, new innovations came up very, very nicely. Supply chain is getting redefined and re-looked at, has come out quite nicely. I don't know whether I've left out 2 or 3 of it, of what you all said, but I think it's a new method of working for sure. There's so much of information that's come in from within this 1 hour. I'll ask one question for sure. Online store will overtake physical stores for retail industry, including restaurant. Is that a fact or no? And each one of you can say yes or no. Will online take over physical?
No, in our case.
Okay, Vikram?
Hybrid will dominate.
Okay, Vikram?
No, it won't for specific categories which are more high touch.
Okay, Deepak? Yeah, you're on silent. You're on mute, Deepak.
Yeah, I think physical is here to stay. We are just waiting for a rebound.
So I also would agree with all of you. The physical is as important, but like what you're saying, unicommerce or omni-channel are the thoughts that all of us need to embrace, and whoever can reach the customer fastest and better and with the right kind of service and trust would possibly be the winner. We'll have to wait and watch how things pan out. With that, with so much of information and with so much of knowledge, I do hope that people who've come in onto this panel have enjoyed themselves. I thoroughly enjoyed. I learned a lot of new things from each one of you. And so I'd like to say thank you to Vikram, to Deepak, and to Krishnan on this panel.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.